Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is week 2 of understanding what this drift is that I've been banging on about for the last few weeks. So I've called it breaking the drift. This is obviously the second part of that. Last week we looked at kind of spotting it. What is it? What is it when we are treading water? When we are coasting, when we are playing it safe, looking at it through the lens of our nervous system, looking at what our defense is towards it, because ultimately all it is our nervous system just trying to keep us safe. Anytime we are leaning against the edge of any kind of resistance, I talk about it a lot, like pushing against the edge of the resistance. When we push against the edge of whatever the resistance is, there's fear on the other side of it. We are getting more capacity. So we're able to sit with discomfort more, being more comfortable, being uncomfortable. So we looked at that last week, spotting it, being on autopilot. Because ultimately we will regress, we will go backwards. So this is different. Now this is catching it. So we've now got the awareness, we need to now interrupt it. If you can hit pause in that, then we can start to get a bit of regulation in our nervous system. We can start to become aware physiologically how our bodies, nervous systems, are reacting. Because as you know, our nervous systems are it's just a survival mechanism, isn't it? Just to keep us alive. So this is about building the pause. And that's the difference between reacting to something, threat response, or responding to something. So, personal experience. Because I was so disconnected from my body, I was unaware physiologically of what was going on for me. As I spoke about in the past, this is the equivalent of disconnecting your smoke alarm, taking the battery out. That's the disconnect. Now you might experience that through being numbing out. Disassociating is the extreme version of that. Being emotionless. So an example of that is you might be recalling an event that happened in your life and you would be very matter of fact about it. So for me, the only emotion that I really experienced was rage. So it would layer up, layer up, layer up. I would just keep ignoring it, till my capacity was so small that I would just blow up. I've given countless examples of when this would happen. One of the times, I said that to the group today, I was on site and I had a van that had a bit of a dodgy latch on it, on the driver's side door, and I just absolutely lost it one day when the door wouldn't shut. That was all. It was just the door wouldn't shut, and I was just repeatedly lost the plot completely, just slamming the door shut to the point where I broke the door on the van. So then, and everyone was above me, on the site office and in the canteen, looking at me, laughing at me, thinking, what the fucking hell is he doing? So to get home, I had to tie the door shut. But I used to genuinely believe that I had no control over it. I would have the impulse and then the action, and there would be no gap in between. I would experience the overwhelming surge of rage, and then I would act out on it. A lot of people confuse big emotions with actions. Fear and rage are emotions. The action would be me losing my shit trying to slam the door shut. That's another reason why people will avoid anger, because they have an experience in the past of somebody playing out or acting out on their emotion, whether that's through violence or some other destructive behaviour. So what I learned through this process of understanding my nervous system was when I felt the physiological rise of emotion, of anger or rage, I was then able to put a very small gap in between for me to then start to put some regulation in my system, to then kind of just sit with it a little bit at a time, for it to then subside enough for me to then articulate what was going on, or to choose something different. Instead of blowing up and spilling out everywhere or acting like a dick, inappropriate behaviour, I was able to then regulate the emotion or regulate my nervous system. I would go into full-on fight. Fight is the slamming the door shut, or moving away, which is the flight bit, or avoiding something, or just disconnecting, or appeasing, which is freeze. So I didn't need to suppress it. I just needed to slow it down a little bit for me to regulate my nervous system. So I built space in between the stimulus, which is the emotion, the impulse, and then the action. That's where the power is, being able to slow it down and be with the discomfort of it. So this is what happens. Drift begins with the disconnection. Your body senses the threat, your nervous system reacts to it, and then the mind makes up a story to justify it. So wherever you're drifting now, you will have already made up a story to justify the reason to keep you where you're at. Whether that's an old limited belief. So in the past you might well have done that. But, if you're watching this, you will now have an awareness. You're not the same person that you were before. Now that might be anger, that might be humour, that might be control, that might be withdrawal, that might be that fierce independence that I've spoken about. They're all different versions of the same safety strategy. Your nervous system trying to keep you safe. But as we've discussed, keeping safe is drifting. You're going backwards. So then the survival loop is the trigger, whatever the situation is, that triggers that nervous system reaction. The nervous system goes into fight, flight or freeze. And then because it's a repetitive behaviour, you then go into the shame cycle. Then you make yourself all kind of promises that you won't do it again. And then the cycle repeats itself. So the way out of this is not willpower, motivation. You can't think your way out of this. Through firstly the awareness that we spoke about last week, then the pausing, the slowing down and the regulation, and then a different behaviour, different choices. When you can interrupt the cycle even once, you're starting to rewire your nervous system. And that's how you start to build trust. Because once you've done it once, you know that you can do it. So then you just work on that repeatedly. So here's a somatic experience practice for you. So get yourselves comfortable, sat in a chair that is supporting your back. Place your feet on the floor. Just feel the weight of the floor supporting your feet, and feel the back of the chair supporting your body. Just shut your eyes. Now I want you to think of a situation that has been triggering you lately, where you feel the drift or reaction. I want you to visualise it as if you're there through your senses. So what can you hear, what can you see, what can you smell, what can you feel? Now slow it down. Start to experience it in your body. Notice what happens before the reaction. In your body, physiologically, what happens? I spoke earlier on about how I used to have a surge of heat. I used to describe it as almost like a lava in a volcano. Very intense. Does your jaw tighten? Do you tighten your shoulders? Does your chest lift? Does your stomach clench? Heart rate increase? Is there a bodily change in temperature? Are there bodily sensations? Tingling maybe. Then I want you to breathe in through your nose for 4 and out through your mouth for 6. And then just repeat that a few times. In through your nose, out through your mouth. In for 4, out for 6. Feel your feet being supported on the floor. Then ask yourself, what's really happening underneath this? What's the emotion? Fear, sadness, guilt, shame? Then ask, what do I do? What do I want to choose instead? That's the pause, that's the interruption. Repeat this exercise. So I've got some coaching questions for you. If you need to, pause this video. I really want you to reflect. Pick at least a couple of these questions to reflect on. So what's your default drift pattern? Anger, humour, control, shutdown, the independence, what is it? How does your body let you know when you're slipping into it? What's the earliest physical cue you can catch before it takes over? What's your early warning system? What's the story you tell yourself that justifies your reaction? What keeps you in this? Who do you become when you're reactive? And who do you want to be instead? How could pausing for 10 seconds change the outcome of your next trigger? I want you to visualise what that would be like if you were calmer, if you were making different decisions, different choices. What emotion are you avoiding when you drift? Is it fear? What is it? And how would it feel to choose instead of react? What would your life be like if you responded rather than reacted? Who else would notice? How would they notice? So, to close on this is not a lack of focus. This is not being lazy. It's your nervous system trying to protect you from the discomfort. Protection is not progress. Safety is not progress. So your work on that this week is powerful. Very simple but powerful. And not easy. Don't confuse the two. Catch one drift moment in real time. Pause. Breathe. Ask, what's really happening here? So one of the things that I used to say to myself is, I am experiencing a lot of fear in my nervous system or in my body, but I know that I am safe. Then respond from truth, not fear. So you might have set a goal and you're starting to pull away from it, avoid it. What's the fear here? What's the fear of showing up? What's the fear of just going that little bit further? So I want you to either share this in the group, tell us how you've interrupted the pattern so you can learn from each other. Because every time you build that pause, you build power. And that's how you're going to go from drifting to becoming the person that you aspire to be. Any questions, you know where I am.